Thanks for joining us from the Ohio AgNet Voice You Know with the News You Trust studio, sponsored by BASF, where you can count on the trusted performance of Allevo's seed treatment to protect your soybean crop. With the 2025 U.S. fall harvest winding to a close, traders and producers will turn their attention to USDA after 2 months of crop size speculation. USDA will release its November crop production and World Ag supply and demand estimates. That report will be out at noon Eastern Time on Friday. Also, it looks like Land O'Lake Incorporated and Microsoft announcing a multi-year strategic alliance, marking a new chapter in their shared commitment to agriculture innovation. Building on 5 years of successful collaboration, the alliance will focus on co-developing AI-powered tools, including a digital asset called Oz. This assistant is built on models with Azure AI Foundry and uses Land O'Lake's agricultural data to help farmers make informed decisions that aim to optimize operations, maximize yield potentials, and mitigate risk. Let's check in with a weekly update from the Ohio Soybean Council and your checkoff dollars at work. Here's Dusty Sonnenberg.
Joining me today is Dr. Laura Lindsay, OSU Extension soybean and small grain specialist. And Laura, we want to take a look back at this year's harvest, as soybean harvest is pretty much wrapped up across the Buckeye State. And boy, variability seems like it's the word of the day.
Yes. Reports that I've heard from people, it's extremely variable within a county even. And our performance trials, our variety testing program shows variability across the state as well.
As you take a look at some of those yields that you guys plant in different parts of the state, what were some of the highs and lows that you saw?
Surprisingly, Henry County in Northwest Ohio, our late variety trial averaged close to 76 bushels per acre, which is extremely unexpected given the dry conditions. But there was adequate rainfall or soil moisture through July before that water turned off later in August and September. So we really think that moisture helped carry those soybeans through. Sandusky County, which is also the northern region, but a little bit further east, our average yields there were about 64 bushels per acre for our late maturing varieties, but that tends to be a sandier soil. So some differences there, I think, coming through due to soil moisture differences.
What was the high you heard around the state?
For us, our highest in our performance trials was Licking County. We had a few varieties go over 100 bushels per acre, which is absolutely outstanding for any year. Our average yield in Preble County for our early varieties was 92 bushels per acre. So down there, Preble County was also very good.
Again, my guest today is Dr. Laura Lindsay, OSU Extension soybean and small grain specialist, taking a look back at this past growing season and some of the yield results. Dr. Lindsay, thanks so much for your time today.
Yep, thank you.
And today's update is brought to you by the Ohio Soybean Council and your soybean checkoff.
And thanks, Dusty. Today's weather brought to you by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance online at seedconsultants.com. Here's the forecast.
Sunny, warm, and dry for another day here across Ohio. I'm Chief Meteorologist Ryan Martin. Let's take a look at that forecast update. Beautiful weather in here today. It's a little bit windy, all right? But it seems like most days recently have been windy, so I'm not going to get too bent out of shape about it. I do think moving forward, we are still looking at major changes in our pattern starting tomorrow. A frontal boundary is building off to our west and northwest overnight tonight. That is going to drag through Ohio through the day on Friday. Scattered rain showers hitting almost all areas of the state, 90%, I'll say at this point, with a 1/10 to 3/4 of an inch of precipitation. We start to clear out a little bit around sunset Friday night, and then we are pushing pause on any additional inclement weather all the way through the day on Saturday. Overnight Saturday night through Sunday, rain showers are back with another area of low pressure. Can see another 1/10 to 3/4 of an inch. However, this time the low is not as impressive on moisture and more impressive for what it does behind it. Strong north flow comes in. This low opens the gates to the Arctic, it feels like, and well below normal temperatures are in here for Sunday midday and afternoon through Sunday night, Monday, and a Tuesday. Strong north winds coming over the Great Lakes means a lake effect is going to be an issue through the daytime hours. I'm looking at the lake effect to bring scattered rain showers, especially Sunday, midday, afternoon, and Monday. But in the overnight periods, look, this can easily trigger some lake effect snowflakes, sloppy wet snowflakes. This will be near Lake Erie. I don't think it's going to be much of a story anywhere else, but we'll keep an eye on it. And then moving forward, once we get into Tuesday night, early Wednesday, as quickly as the cold air races in, it's gone. South flow dominates for Wednesday, and we warm back up in a big way for the rest of next week, and we stay dry. I'm Ryan Martin.
And thanks, Ryan. Nebraska Farm Bureau economist and policy analyst Abigail Streff detailed how escalating costs are straining farm budgets and threatening the economic stability of rural communities across the state. Streff found that fertilizer costs continued in an upward trend. Fertilizer costs per acre for corn are forecast in Nebraska for 2025 at $161.59. That's up 44.8% since 2020. Soybean fertilizer costs have also increased, climbing 60% during that same period. Now, another rapidly increasing cost for ag producers is the cost of farm machinery parts. These components have risen more than 69% since 2020, with the price of parts that cost $600 in 1982 now approaching $1,930. These increases place added strain on producers' ability to maintain and operate essential equipment, stated the release. Land values and rental rates have also increased, and interest rates at decade-high levels, Streff noted. These expense increases are interconnected and compounding, Streff said. Higher land prices lead to higher taxes and rents. Increased interest rates making financing these costs more expensive, and spikes in input prices erode producers' ability to remain profitable. The American Soybean Association and the National Oilseed Processors Association have sent a joint letter to President Donald Trump urging swift finalization of key federal biofuel policies needed to strengthen domestic demand for U.S. soy and support farmers facing continued market pressure. The organizations called for completion of several priority actions, including finalizing EPA's proposed 2026 to 2027 renewable fuel standard volumes, limiting RIN credit generation from foreign feedstocks and imported biofuels, discouraging imports of used cooking oil and beef tallow that displace domestic soy oil, and ensuring full reallocation of waived RVO volumes tied to small refinery exemptions, and issuing timely Treasury guidance for the revised 45Z clean fuel production credit to reflect congressional changes that prioritize domestic agricultural feedstock. American Soybean Association CEO Stephen Censky said the administration's decisions in the coming weeks will directly influence farmer profitability and future processing investments. Farmers need clear and consistent federal policy to expand domestic biofuel production and strengthen the market for American-grown soy, Censky said. The administration has taken important steps to support U.S. biofuels, and it's essential that these policies are finalized before the end of the year. Roughly half of all U.S. processed soybean oil is used in biomass-based diesel, making biofuels one of the most significant domestic markets for soybeans. Back with more after this.
Attention construction pros. Purple Wave Auction brings quality equipment to your fingertips. Join our bi-weekly online auctions featuring dozers, excavators, loaders, and more. We provide detailed listings, photos, and seller contact info. Inspect online or in person. With our no reserve policy, every item sells to the highest bidder. Visit purplewave.com today and see why informed builders choose Purple Wave. Transparent processes, real deals. Your next great purchase awaits. purplewave.com.
Think biodiesel is just another fuel? Think again. Biodiesel is Ohio innovation on the move. Clean, green, and built to keep diesel engines running strong. It's an engine booster, a soybean supporter, and an environmental champion all in one. Every gallon reduces emissions, strengthens Ohio farms, and powers your ride. Drive with purpose. Choose biodiesel. Learn how at soyohio.org. Today's market analysis is brought to you by the Louis Dreyfus Company. Excited to be building the newest state-of-the-art soybean crush facility in Upper Sandusky, Ohio. For marketing information on your beans to LDC, call 574-566-2113. With our analysis, here's Ryan Martin.
Grain markets finished the day mostly higher on Wednesday. It was not a great showing through most of the session, but as we got into the late afternoon hours, the last 90 minutes or so of the market day, we actually built some decent strength into the marketplace, and some of it was ahead of a House vote that was awaiting for the reopening of the government. We also had some position squaring ahead of the USDA report that comes out on Friday, so tomorrow. Fresh input, though, was severely lacking through the day, even with the EIA weekly energy and ethanol report. That was going to be postponed until Thursday following the Veterans Day holiday on Tuesday. Let's talk about that Friday report. WASDE report out, and there are expectations that there will be some yield tweaks because of NASA's objective yield data. However, I'm looking at this and going back to the last time that the government was shut down, and I'm not sure they do much of anything. Even if they do have the objective yield data, remember, NAS has only been skeleton crewed leading up to this report. Do they really go and change anything materially in this report? I really don't feel there is. There's no obligation for USDA at this point to account for any of China's pledge to secure 12 million metric tons of beans in the short to medium term. Why? Well, first of all, because no deal's been signed yet, and otherwise export shipment pace analysis does warrant some measure of reduction in the export forecast. Soy inspections through November 6th are down about 42% year on year. Meanwhile, the corn is down as well, but not nearly as much. Physical shipments to China, if they don't appear prior to early December, the pace analysis will argue for deeper cuts to soy exports with the risk of then sub 1.5 billion bushel shipment levels still very much intact. Half of the annual U.S. soybean exports are historically shipped by the middle of December. So there are a lot of people looking at the Friday report for some kind of changes that highlight any of this change in balance sheet. But again, I'm not sure we see much of anything here on this Friday's report. And how does the market react to that if it does in fact happen? I'm Ryan Martin.
And thanks, Ryan. I'll have your overnight figures after this.
Here's farmer and businessman James Wood.
We farm about 3,500 acres. There's pipelines everywhere. The contractor working on my property did not have the lines located before he began work, and it resulted on a strike on a natural gas pipeline. Fortunately, no one was hurt, but it could have been much worse.
Never assume the location or depth of underground lines. Always call 811 or visit clickbeforeyoudig.com before you start work. A message from the Pipeline Operators for Ag Safety campaign.
Today's market is brought to you by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance online at seedconsultants.com. Overnight at the open, December corn down a half at 4.34 3/4. March down a penny, 4.48 1/4, and May 4.55 3/4, down a penny and a half. November new crop beans down 5 at 11.15 1/2. January down a penny and 1/4 at 11.32 1/2, and March 11.42 3/4, down 1 1/4. Wheat, not much happening. July's unchanged at 5.75. September up 1/4 cent at 5.88 1/2. In livestock at yesterday's close, December cattle down $1.92 at $225.27. February $224.97, down $1.42, and April $224.50, down $1.32. December lean hogs $80.62, down $1.72. February down $1.70 at $81.52, and April $85.55, down $1.50. January feeder cattle, $327.47, down $1.67. March, $321.02, down $2.30. And April, $318.60, down $2.55. Be sure to check out our website at ohioagnet.com. The latest videos up, as well as you'll always find the weather, markets, and the latest news. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day, everyone. I'm Dale Minyo. This is the Ohio AgNet.